Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. Happy holidays. I've got a couple weeks off from teaching, but of course, I never stop working. And this coming week, I'll be doing a deep dive into my next project. I'm planning a book of piano studies, etudes, old-fashioned composer might have called them. And today I want to take a look at instrumental form. We'll talk more about that, and etudes. Recently, I did a video on my favorite etude from Philip Glass's Piano Etudes book. But Glass is by no means the only person who's written collections of pieces designed to train a pianist or train a musical mind into an idea. I just grabbed a few things just from the top shelf, and I don't even have to look too far to find them. Here, Chopin etudes are basic for piano students. I'm not saying that you should definitely dive into them, but he's got a lot of interesting things. And then there are easier things as well. Heller, Bertini, these are all guys from Europe, right? Kramer. Listen, I want to show you the basic idea about what an etude or a basic study does for us. Now let's see if I can find a simple example that's really clear. Yeah, take a look at this. So even if you don't read music, you can probably see that the picture, the sort of shape of all the notes is a repetitive pattern. And each one of these has a separate, very distinctive repetitive pattern. That repetitive pattern is how the pianist or whoever it is who's playing, could be, you could write an etude for anybody, how that person is going to handle the chords, the melodies, the general arrangement of the piece. Here you see a very busy right hand with a left hand that supports it. I've talked about this before, but in general, this is called instrumental form. Let's take a look at a simple chord progression and several instrumental forms of harmony around that chord progression. Well, I thought it would be fun to take a look at Autumn Leaves. And you probably know this song. It's kind of an old-fashioned song, right? But you can see a chord progression. C minor 7, F7, B flat major 7, E flat 7. It goes around basically a modified circle of fifths. It's a great study tune for that reason. Instrumental form is the way of handling those chords. Well, here's my thinking about it. There's basically, I don't know. I'm going to say there's basically 2 or 3 types of instrumental form. The first one is just the chunk of the chord. We call this a block chord. And you can see the chord actually appears in the screen as a chunk, as a block. And I've inverted these chords. Here's C minor 7 and then an inverted F7. And that chunk, that block chord, is an expression of the chord. I could play those chords while accompanying myself with the melody. I'm not going to play the melody a lot because I just don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, but you get the idea. Now, for me, the next kind of like most important instrumental form of harmony, and it's really what we're talking about today, is instrumental form. The next important instrumental form is a broken chord. Well, a broken chord is just a way of playing those notes one at a time. You might know the word arpeggio. And of course, there are many ways to play arpeggios. I was going low, next note, next note, next note. If I only use 3 notes, I can do a classic version of an arpeggio. For instance, here's the C minor chord, low, middle, high, middle, low, middle, high, middle. But what if I go something like this, low, high, middle, high, low, high, middle, high, low, high, middle, high, a broken chord. Broken chords are just terrific, and there's a million ways to do it. You can be as dense as you want with broken chords. Here's two-handed. Busy, and in fact, I overdrove things a little bit. I'm using piano colors, by the way, so there's several layers of instruments going on at once here. Instrumental form is a really important way for a composer to identify themselves. In fact, to some degree, instrumental form goes directly to style. The word style, I think, is a good way to just generally say to yourself, what's the instrumental form I'm doing? You can associate instrumental forms with specific styles of music. For instance, this same chord progression as reggae. New Orleans. Get the idea, right? I don't know if we could exactly do a hard rock version of this, but we would, if we did, we'd have to think about things like instrumentation, like how the notes are parsed across instruments. If we had a heavy metal guitar, we'd probably just have to do block fifths. I actually think that's pretty powerful. Circles of fifths are going to be powerful no matter what you do. Instrumental form is a choice that we make as an artist. Now, I want to talk a little bit about something else that almost every young artist is going to have to decide on, which is what you will and won't do. My teacher, Dr. Roland Wiggins, said, greatness is the realization of a tendency. Not realization as in, oh yeah, I suddenly realized that I forgot to turn off the faucet, but rather make real. If you have a tendency, if you have a direction that you tend to go when you play, your job as an artist is to recognize it and make it real. Recognize it and tease it out, build on it. Now, how do you build on a tendency that you recognize? How do you make it real? Well, for centuries, the answer to that has been create a book for yourself of etudes, of studies. Focus on things that interest you. Set them out in a methodical way. Well, if I'm interested in A, B, and C, and the way it works with D, I'm going to have to work on A with D, B with D, C with D. Then I'm also going to have to work on A and C as it relates to D. Suddenly you've got weeks of work in front of you. Jazz musicians call this shedding, going out to the woodshed and practicing so that nobody can hear you. This is all work that we do for ourselves in order to have a conception, an idea of who we are as an artist. Instrumental form is definitely part of that. Well, this week, I have the luxury of afternoons off. I don't have students. And so I'm going to be shedding my next project. My next project, as I said earlier, is a book of etudes for myself. I'm trying to realize a conception that I have about harmony and instrumental form in a way that will help me perform and play in a meaningful way, in a way that has integrity, in a way that pushes forward an idea, in a way that's artistic and musical, and in a way that's personal and unique. Well, that's what I hope for you. I hope you can find something that's true for you. What's so for you as an artist? If you can find that thing, if you can realize that tendency, you can support your greatness. It's a New Year's wish, right? Well, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe. Channel's doing great. I'm happy to be here helping you. And I'll see you next time.